You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
In this episode, I'm like one of those M&Ms from the commercials. I do exist. It's like Santa Claus, right? This is Apathetic Enthusiasm. Hey, everybody. You know that commercial, right, Brandon?
It's an M&M commercial? Oh.
Yeah, it's around the holidays, Christmas, the M&Ms walking out into the living room. They encounter Santa. I think the peanut M&M says, "Oh, he does exist." And then Santa turns around and goes, "They do exist." And then he faints, ruining Christmas for thousands of children.
Yeah, that's right. Because like the M&M, because they don't believe in each other. They're like, oh, how could they both exist? How can we both exist in this world of crazy lies?
Yeah, it's Schrodinger's M&M.
That's right.
Or something like that.
Is he
hi, everybody.
Or is he not?
You never know until you look into the packaging. Welcome to Apathetic Enthusiasm. My name is Travis.
My name is Brandon. And we have a very special episode for you today. Travis is here.
Hey, I do exist. Yeah, it's I think like a summer solstice or something, or Jupiter aligned with Uranus, and now here we are. The timing has worked out where I can squeeze a few moments into my life for podcasting.
Yeah,
so I'm very excited to be here.
That's really cool. Really, if you want to know what happened, Travis said, no more Chelsea. She cannot be on the show anymore.
Get out. She's bringing the whole show down. No, the reality is, as I said, people aren't going to miss me if Chelsea keeps doing the show, because she's so good at it. You guys have great chemistry. You guys should go out or something. Like, I think you guys could have a long-term relationship if you really worked at it. But no, like I love listening to you guys when I cannot record with you. But yeah, people are going to not want me back on the show if I didn't show up. So I was like, you know what? Forget my family, forget all of the other things. I need to record an episode.
Maybe here's the thing, Travis. Maybe they'll want you back, be okay with Chelsea staying, and then be like, Brandon, you leave, right?
That would be very interesting, because neither Chelsea nor I know how to actually record an audio version of this podcast.
I'll produce it, and then you're fine, right?
Yeah, you could just be back there, and then you can like chime in every once in a while, like, yeah, guys, that's great. I'll be
your Robin, or the Brandon Cruz to the Rounding the Bases, right? I'll just be in the background.
Exactly.
For producing it here.
While me and Chelsea do a podcast, because that wouldn't be weird at all.
Yeah.
All right. But it's great to be here. It's great to have a little bit of time to sit down and record with you, catch up in a non-text based format, because that's pretty much the only way we communicate otherwise. So excited to talk about all the
goings on,
things I've watched on my laptop from a hospital room.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard so much about the things that we've watched. You know, I'm interested in finding out what you've watched, Travis. But before we do that, housekeeping, man, come on. You know, you.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
You know,
I knew it was coming.
You're not.
I didn't want to jump right into it. I didn't want to act like I own the place.
You're not on the show. Like 6 episodes, and all of a sudden you think you know how this works. No. This is my house now. This is my
housekeeping now. All right, go for it. I'll just sit back and relax and, doze off while you do the.
Are you drinking some scotch too?
Yeah, my very good friend Brandon Cruz bought this for me.
Oh, hell yeah! Whoever that guy is, what a beast. So a little bit of housekeeping. First and foremost, you can check us out on every social media platform that actually is good and isn't full of Nazis.
Which means no social media platforms available whatsoever.
Which means, thanks to the oligarchy, we have no more social media presence. We do have a Blue Sky, apathusiast.bsky.social, if you want to follow us there. rickandmortypod.bsky.social. barnyardcruise.bsky.social. It's a the bsky.social thing that throws me off. Instagram, of course, youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. You can always go there. Patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. Support us if you want. If not, that's cool too. We feel it. We feel the support no matter if you give us monetary.
We feel the support. We feel the lack of support. We appreciate it either way.
That's right. If you are giving us a lack of support, that means you're actively giving us something, which means you recognize our legitimacy, which is still appreciated. So,
yeah.
Let's see. Good news on the social media front, Travis. I submitted our accounts, Rick and Morty Pod and Apathusiast on Twitter, to get our data so we can close those accounts. So, just waiting for that thing. So
that took me, I think it like took 2 or 3 days for them to actually get back to me when I had submitted the request to have my data to back up. It was interesting when I got it that they give you like a zip file. There's like a little HTML thing in that zip file where you could basically open a browser window of your Twitter profile that has all of your tweets and things in there. Just save locally to your own device so that you can then delete your account and never look back and hand that down to your grandchildren and be like, check it out. This is when I had 140 characters to talk about what I was eating for lunch that day.
When in history books, they say, what did you do during Nazi America? We can look back at the history.
We canceled our Twitter account.
We canceled our Twitter account.
I'll show them.
You know, it's funny. It's funny. It took you 3 days to get your information from Twitter. It took Elon Musk like 20 seconds to break into the U.S. Treasury. So running the country really well.
Just different levels of priorities.
That's right. That's right. I know you don't really want to talk about politics or can't because you get fired right away. Let's.
I may already be. I don't know. I need to check my email.
Excuse me, Travis Menard. You are officially out on the street.
Something about resigning, compensation. I don't know. It went to spam. I don't know. It went to spam.
In the space where you work. Yeah. Okay, well, all that stuff out of the way, Travis. How are you doing? Things are going great.
So like in life,
it's a standard question.
It's such a weird question. It's such a weird question because for 98% of my life, anyone's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Typically, the truthful answer is, "I'm doing all right, doing okay." Sometimes things are stressful. Sometimes things are bad. But for the most part, lately, when people have been asking me that question, I'm like, "Not great. It sucks. Life sucks." And that's been a genuine answer. I have been with my daughter, who has been in the hospital now almost a month. And in a couple of days, it'll be a month that she's been back admitted in the hospital. She's got leukemia. It sucks. She's going through chemo. But the real thing is she's had this like stomach, like intestinal infection that has been the thing that's been keeping her in the hospital. The last couple of weeks have been really hard because she like hasn't been able to eat. She's been on these medicines that kind of like knock her out, and she hasn't been able to like do things. She's becoming kind of like depressed, which as a parent just sucks to see that stuff. So I say all that downer stuff to say that we have some good news. She's over the last couple of days, they're kind of figuring out a better balance as they wean her off some of those medications, and she's got some appetite back. She's able to eat a little bit more. Today she was moving around a little bit more and able to do like some physical therapy and things like that. All really good things that are indicators that we may be getting towards a point where she can come back home and kind of get back into a normal routine and things like that. So, that's my reality right now, is splitting time with my wife at the hospital, because we have 3 kids, right? One is at the hospital. The other 2 have lives, right? They have to go to school. They have to get educated. They have to watch the Grammys or something. I don't know. They have to do things, right? So we try to keep their lives as normal as we can, while also navigating the fact that, one of our kids is in the hospital full time. So that basically means I split time with my wife. I'll stay one night at the hospital. She'll stay home with the kids. If it's like a school day, she'll get up, take him to school, and then drive to the hospital. We'll like high five, give each other a hug or something.
Grab each
Just
other's
bump.
crotches.
Yeah, just blatantly right in front of the nurse's station.
Yeah. Do you have any prophylactics? Which is such a funny word. Prophylactic
it is a good word. It's a great word.
word.
I feel like that word was invented specifically for comedy. Like, anyway, but yeah, so maybe we'll hang out for a couple hours or something. And then I would leave, go pick up the kids from school, hang out for the evening, cook dinner, help with some homework, humiliate my son in a couple rounds of Lorcana, and then straight to podcasting with Brandon. So yeah, that's basically what my day looked like today. And then it'll be rinse and repeat. I'll go to bed, get up, take the kids to school, drive to the hospital, high five, prophylactics, and then
prophylactics like on the hand, continues. Like on each finger.
It's just those like tiny rubber gloves that just go over the one finger that like
Sheena, I'm coming to get you.
But yeah, so I mean that has been my life for the last month, which means I'm not going out and doing a lot of things. Lorcana being the one outlier because I have the excuse of I gotta take my son because that's his normal, right? And it's set champs month, so we have to go to all the tournaments. But it's really hanging out at the hospital. And when my daughter is like sleeping or she's like really zonked out because of medications or things like that, I am like watching movies or playing games on my laptop. So, yeah, I've caught up on movies I've never watched. Mm-hmm. I'm watching other things. I still haven't watched Wild Robot, which I know you talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good.
I really want to watch it. I intend to watch it in the next week.
I've said it before. I've said it again. Recommend it. It's a good flick. It's a good flick.
Yeah. And then I don't know. There's like some stupid sports ball game this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't want to think too much about.
Let's before we switch topics. Thanks for doing this. I know we talk in obviously Messenger, and here and there, probably not enough. And then
that way Zuck can keep tabs on everything we're doing.
Right. Like, hey, Zuck, if you can do anything, let us know. If you can do anything, let us, whatever. Anyway, the whole normal thing, right? Like we've done this, we do this on Mondays generally, right? And this is a chance for normalcy. You talked about like going to work, like just going into work for like a couple minutes is like no one likes to work until you don't have to work anymore. And then it's like, oh shit, no, this is part of my life too. Like this makes me feel routine, Yeah.
It's a sense of normalcy, like you said. So I have basically been teleworking, and that's a bit of a stretch, even in that classification of what I've been doing. But keeping up with certain work obligations via my laptop. But for the most part, I haven't had to like go into work, haven't had to drive in there. And where I'm at in my job now, like most of my work is people. Like I manage operations, I manage processes, but those processes involve a lot of people. And so a lot of my day-to-day work is spending time with people in my organization, discussing things with them, going to meetings, all that fun stuff. But yeah. And so when I'm not there, not going to work, I am not around a lot of people that I usually see on a daily basis. So anytime I do go in there, even if it is just for a couple hours, it's nice because it does provide that sense of normalcy and that's one of the things I've talked with a lot of people at work is they're like, when are you coming back? When are you going to like actually, no kidding, be back at work? And I was like, well, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for you. I have some criteria, I think, within my family where if we are at a certain point, that would be a time when I would try to be back at work normally. I'm incredibly grateful to have a job where I have the flexibility that I have right now.
Right.
Because I know that's not the case for a lot of people. And that I have, bosses that are providing that flexibility as well, because they could also be like, no, you need to be at work.
You cannot do it. No. Bring the hospital here.
Yeah. We'll set up a hospital bed in the heritage room.
There's jalapeno popcorn.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't knock.
It's as strong as chemotherapy.
You can't knock it. Well,
but yeah, so things like going to work, recording a podcast, they are those glimpses of normalcy, which I definitely look forward to, because they're almost therapeutic as well, right? They give you a chance to feel normal and not like you're just in a rut.
Right.
With the hospital,
right. So. I do have kind of a side question, not related to all of that, but I'll introduce it by saying it's not the same. But when I was getting out of the military and I was teleworking, I was remote working. It didn't feel. It was missing something. It was missing something. And, you talk about being a manager, being in dealing with people, right? Like that's what my job had been for so long. And then going away from that, it was like, it felt aimless. It felt like I tried to be focused, but it's just not happening. And of course you've got other stuff going on. To where like now where I'm at, if I do telework, it's because it's specifically to get something done, because I need to focus for like 8 hours, or I'm just, like I wake up in the morning, like, fuck it, I'm going to stay home and just work from home. Right.
I need all those people to not come and see me for 6 hours so that I can focus in on the task that I have to complete.
Right. So Mike Escara, if I'm working from home, it's because you won't leave me fuck alone.
It's your fault. Name dropping you, Mike, specifically Mike Escara. And you're the reason I have to stay home.
And Edgardo Gutierrez, like it's you too. Lillian, all of you. Who else do I need? Jeff Bowles, BWF. Anyways. So my question is like, is that a similar feel like doing this? Are you like, I don't want to work remote full time?
Yeah, I think that's something I realized not too long after the height of COVID, and like I enjoyed teleworking for a season, but I think I enjoy going into work, having face-to-face conversations, working with people, I feel like there's a lot of things that either problems that get solved or solutions that are developed through informal conversations or, impromptu conversations, things like that. So, which is not a thing that happens organically in telework. It just doesn't. You always have to like set up that Teams call or organize that like Slack message or, whatever it is. It's less organic. It's not, hey, let me swing by, see how you're doing. Oh, you're struggling with X, Y, or Z. Let's talk about it and see if we can come up with an answer on the fly.
Like today, I just happened to be in the other building. I was like, well, I want to ask him a question and I'm already over here. I'll go in there and then like ask him the question. And that question turns into like, oh, what does your tattoo say? Oh, wish you were here. Oh, like the Pink Floyds. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I listened to that album when I was in Pittsburgh during a snowstorm, right? And then like it's also like those small interactions that also build the relationship too, right? So it's not. So what I found in the last job that I had was every interaction felt like cold calling a little bit because I didn't have that interact. Yeah. I didn't have that relationship really with that person. It was like, hello, Monica.
Salutations,
I hate
Reginald.
I hate to bother you, even though you're in the same company as me. You know, I don't feel that way anymore. So
Yeah, you just walk in while they're in the middle of working on an important project and be like, "Oh, what's your tattoo say?"
yeah, get out of here. You didn't even knock on my office door. But what they do, but they knock on my door and then they just come in. Except one guy, Mike Giles, knocks on my door, and then I go, "Yeah," and he doesn't come in. I say, "Come in," and it's Mike. And I realized, I appreciate that, but also don't make me tell you to come in. I'm acknowledging that you're knocking on the door. The is a whatever. Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. So what have you been watching, Travis? Tell me something.
I'm not watching anything. No,
and that's it. That's it for our show tonight.
Thank you for watching. I feel like one of the last times we did an episode, the two of us, I divulged something about the fact that I had never read all of or watched all of the Harry Potter movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's done.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, still haven't done it. Got distracted by Twilight.
Sparkly vampires, that's my thing. No, I watched all of that. I was gonna start that while I was out of town. I think I might have started it and then just finished the rest of it either in hospitals or in the like 2-week break between hospital stays at my house. So yeah, I get it. Like that's good. Harry Potter, pretty good. That's my hot take for 2025. I don't care what anybody else says. It's pretty good.
You know what they should do? I've been thinking about this a lot. At one of the theme parks, they should make like a Hogwarts land or something like that. Because
what if they did it at every Universal park ever? Every time they build a Universal park, another Hogwarts land.
Maybe I don't know. They have to.
That's what they're doing. What they're doing.
They would need a Mario land before they did anything crazy like that.
Just doing both. and How to Train Your Dragon land while you're at it.
Is there are they doing that one?
At Universal's Epic Universe, the new theme park that's opening in Orlando, Florida this year, in the next few months, actually. The theme park is basically 4 major areas. That is where they're introducing a Super Mario Land, another Hogwarts, like another Harry Potter area. So there will be like 3 Harry Potter areas in Florida Universal theme parks. This one's like a Ministry of Magic thing, I think, or something. I don't know. There's a How to Train Your Dragon area. And then the classic like Monsters of Universal or whatever, the Universal like monsters.
That one I want to see. Did we talk about that?
We mentioned it because I think there was like a video about the animatronics.
Yeah.
For one of the attractions that's going to be there, and they just look so freaking good.
Yeah.
They just like it looks like a legit natural like Frankenstein like coming at you or something. So I'm very curious about that park. It seems really cool. I feel like they just announced, I don't know if this is rumor, I don't know if this is real or not, that they already have a planned expansion for that park, even though the park hasn't opened yet. And it's like a Wizard of Oz, like Wicked themed Emerald City type place. I think the popularity of Wicked has already convinced them that they should build that. So
ew.
You can spend one short day in the Emerald City. I'm not gonna sing.
Ew.
Hey, did you watch Wicked? Did you watch it?
I've watched it 6 or 7 times now. I can't get enough of it. That's why I'm gagging. Because I'm like,
pretty good.
I need to watch it again right now.
As the only person on this podcast that appreciates musicals.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, Chelsea and I, neither of us, it is our podcast. When neither of us watch,
you guys have other areas. That's why I'm here to guest, to provide. I heard you guys bashing on Lin-Manuel Miranda a recent episode.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I hope you know that he sucks.
Yeah. I swerved my car.
He is. He sucks.
He has his moments.
Um,
The Moana soundtrack was great. I don't want you to.
Shiny. That's the worst song. That song sucks so badly, dude.
That one's not great. That one's not great.
You can't say, Moana soundtrack, chef's kiss, it's great, when there's clearly a bad song on that.
Yeah, but
name one bad song off of Lion King.
Hakuna Matata.
No, you can't use that one. It means no worries.
Yeah, for the rest of your days. I don't know. I was immediately thinking of Phil Collins and Tarzan, and I was like, that soundtrack goes really hard.
Yeah,
but you still have that zabadee zabadap zabadoo zabadoo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Epic Universe. We were talking about something completely different before we started talking.
Well, what I was going to ask was about Harry Potter. And
yes.
What I was going to ask,
here we are. I know what the triangle thing means.
The Harry
on all the nerds bumper stickers. The triangle with the circle and the line.
Yes.
I know what that means now.
Yeah.
For 20 years, I didn't know what that meant.
It's the Masons. It's the
Muggle Masons.
The stone cutters. After watching all of the movies, which one is, do you have a preference in like the newer ones versus the originals? Or I say the originals, but like the first ones versus the later ones?
Are you talking about like the
films,
the prequels? Like
no. I don't care about any of those. I'm talking about like Chamber of Secrets versus Deathly Hallows. Like, do the movies get better? Do you have a favorite or a least favorite?
I think they probably get a little bit better. I would say the movie that I always ended up stopping at was A Goblet of Fire. And while that story concludes with like a really important like
revelation.
Yeah. For the most part, the content of that story or book is kind of just like, all right, like what does this matter? Ultimately, there are things in it that matter, but it's more for me sort of like a filler midpoint. After that, I feel like the series of events that takes place is much more of like, oh wow, this is important. This is kind of key to the story and ultimately like
it gets to a point where it's on rails and you're like, okay, we're heading towards this series conclusion.
Yeah. Which is funny because that's how far I had ever gotten in reading or watching the movies. So I never got past that point when it really picks up and starts getting good.
I did not watch any of the Harry Potter movies until maybe Deathly Hallows Part 1. That was the first one I watched. Because you know me, Travis.
Classic Brandon. Classic. I'll just Google what's happened up to this point.
I did. I Wikipedia'd everything. And I was like, this is pretty good. I don't know who any of these characters are. Hagrid, I know of. Oh, this character dies. Oh, that's too bad. He's a little dwarfy guy. And then let's see. I know Voldemort's there. I know Snape killed Dumbledore. I know these are the things I know. Let me finish Deathly Hallows Part 2. By the way, Snape killed Dumbledore. Let's think about that for a minute.
Because I always knew that. I knew that since the mid 2000s.
Yes.
When from the viral video that predates YouTube, I think, where a bunch of people, Harry Potter fans, are in line overnight for a midnight release of the book, and some hooligans, some Death Eaters or whatever they are, right? They drive past yelling out to the crowd the cliffhanger of that book, the big reveal that Snape kills Dumbledore. And you like there's somebody that's like, no, like drops to their knees, like as as the story is ruined for them. So I knew that. I always knew
Do
that.
it. And what a spoiler, right? That's the equivalent of somebody walking in like out of the movie theater, like the Simpsons scene. Oh, Homer walking out and be like, "Oh my God, did you know that was his father?" Like, oh, boo, come on.
That would be like standing in line for several hours to watch the 7th installment of a Star Wars series, just to have a coworker from work walk out from the previous showing, see you in line, and start spoiling things for the movie while you're about to go in and see.
He didn't come from a showing. He was waiting in line to go see the movie.
He like saw it online.
He had read the spoilers online, and we kept telling him, "No, don't say anything. Stop." And then I felt rude, right? Because I'm a people pleaser. And I'm like, "Oh, let him talk. Let him talk. He's not going to spoil anything. I already told him not to." And then he's like, "Yeah, Han Solo dies. It's crazy, right?" Like, fuck you, man. And
did he spoil that, or did he spoil that Han Solo was
oh yeah, it was one of the two.
Ben's dad, right? Like, I think that's what he spoiled.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because we walked out of there,
he didn't say Han
and
Solo
we were
died.
like, if he had spoiled the Han Solo dying, we would have murdered him.
Mm.
Cold blood, right in front of the Honolulu Cineplex.
I would have gone back into the theater, which he was in, slit his throat, and been like,
called him out on a bridge.
Your name is
with
Han
my lightsaber.
Now. No, you're right. Because in his defense, and we didn't know this going into it, like they established it really quickly that, Han Solo is Kylo Ren's dad. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But you don't know that going in. It's like going in and being like, Jar Jar is going to be the hero of the entire prequel series. Like, he's not. But if you said that to me at the start, ooh, I'd be pissed.
Be expecting it. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't know. I knew Snape killed Dumbledore. I didn't.
I love that. I love that meme. I love it.
I
so
didn't
much.
know the context, and even watching the subsequent films, I was like, why, and what it meant. And I knew there had to be more to it than just what we saw. And ultimately there was. I have not started reading the books now that I've finished the movies. I've read some of the earlier books. I know in most books you get more context, you get more. The book's always better, right?
Yeah,
for the most part.
The Patronuses and all that stuff.
So there is an interest in reading the books to hear the whole story, or I'll just wait for HBO to make their series where they're remaking all the Harry Potter story with new actors and see if they do a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was good. So that's my hot take in 2025. Harry Potter, pretty good.
You know what my recommendation is, Travis? Just go to Wikipedia and then just explore it in that way, right? You don't have to look at dialogue. You don't have to, like, they break,
have to feel emotions.
They break down all the characters for you and behind it's no, I'm kind of serious about this. You could read the book if you like reading books, right? Like,
that is my New Year's resolution. 12 books in 12 months.
Go for it. Go do that. But if you don't want to read those books specifically, go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. And then, like, what I found, so after watching Deathly Hallows Part 1, and I went down that rabbit hole of like, okay, what's going on here, right? It's so much more interesting in my brain for all the backstory. You could look at Deathly Hallows Part 1 and being like, okay, yeah, there's a whole lore backstory with all of this stuff going on, and I'm only seeing what's happening now on.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I viewed it. Which, by the way, when we come back from break, I want to talk about another example of me jumping into things and then getting criticized for it. After this.
All right. We'll be right back.
And then we're back because, Let's
I
put
feel I feel so refreshed.
I know. I took a dump. The video people, I just want you to know that I did not take a dump.
Brandon,
but people listening to us on Spotify,
you gotta clean that chair, man.
and Apple Podcasts. Yeah. So before I forget what I was saying, okay. So I've been playing a game, Travis. It's a long running game series by BioWare, and it is called Dragon Age. And so I started playing Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is the latest Dragon Age game, a sequel to Dragon Age Inquisition. So it's like the fourth game of the series.
Yeah. Nobody expects the Dragon Age Inquisition.
No, nobody does. I don't know anything about that game or anything about the series. I just know that a new Dragon Age game came out, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of bored. I'll play this game, right? So shout out to Jeff, who is like, he's a fan of the Dragon Age games. He's played them, and then he found out I was playing Dragon Age, the Veilguard, without having any knowledge whatsoever about any other Dragon Age game or any of the lore. And he's like, no, you have to go back and play at least Inquisition. I'm like, I don't have that much time. And as I'm playing it, I'm meeting characters, and there's clearly a link between that game and this game. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why I'm supposed to know about this character and why they're so important.
I'll just read the Wikipedia.
I'll just read and I'm about to read the Wikipedia to be honest with you. But the thing is, especially I think with like video games, right? Well, maybe not just video games, like any kind of media. I feel like those stories should stand on their own, like to some extent, especially with I don't know. Like I think of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, also BioWare. Like they had like Mass Effect 3, if you jumped in there, they would be like, well, if you've never played any of the other games, here's a kind of a recap of everything that's happened. Here's a new kind of history for you.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to do
previously on BioWare Shock.
Right. I mean,
previously on Dragon Age.
Previously on. Hey, I'm a dragon. How old are you? I won't tell you my age.
I had a feeling that's what those games were about, but I wasn't going to make any assumptions.
It's just 40.
You just guess a dragon's age, right?
That's 42 hours of just guessing dragons' ages.
3,246.
Nope. Getting warmer.
You're burning up. Fire breath, and then you
reload.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you think? Like, well, let's just stick with video games anyway.
Well, I think, and there's a lot of talk right now about the price of video games, especially AAA titles, and when big game studios put in a lot of work and effort to make these really great cinematic like video game experiences. I think the sweet spot is when a game can stand on its own, the story can stand on its own, the characters, you do not require anything previous. Yeah, maybe there is like an opening cutscene that introduces you to some characters that have been around for a while or something. But the sweet spot is when then you introduce those side characters, those backstories that to somebody that's played all of the games, that has meaning. But if you've never played those games, you're not necessarily losing anything, right? Like that to me, I think is the best way to do it, where it's to the player's benefit and they get more out of the story or more out of the experience if they've played everything. But it doesn't leave a new player confused or feel like they don't understand what's happening in the story if they haven't played 70 hours of the last 3 previous titles.
So this Dragon Age game, I think what I can relate it to most is like if you jumped into Infinity War,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
and you jumped into Endgame without having watched any of the other Marvel movies. It's just kind of expecting you to know who everybody is, right? It's like, oh, who's coming out of the portal? Oh, look, it's look at the Falcon flying through the portal.
Why did that flying fella say on your left?
Yeah, well,
seems out of context.
it seems kind of weird, you know. And maybe that's an extreme example, but this Dragon Age feels that way, where like it's introducing people. The game starts by introducing people that you should already know who they are, but it never gives you any more context until later in the game of like what their role was. And then some of the criticism for the game too was the character that kind of kickstarts the plot for this game was either a playable character or like his story at the end of Inquisition was kind of like, it wasn't the same as what it started off in this game. And you know, how is a new player supposed to know that? What if Dragon Age the Veilguard was like 10 years from now and all these other games were like so old, nobody wants to play them. This is the first game you're going to jump into the series with. It shouldn't expect you to know all that stuff. And I think that's kind of what grates my gears.
I feel like when I played like Witcher 3 or something like that, it kind of did what a lot of movies do, right? Where they introduce you to a scene, a scenario, without first introducing you to the characters or things like that, right? And so all of a sudden you have interactions between people and you don't know how they're connected or what their history is or how they got to where they are. And over time, that information is revealed to you. Mm-hmm. But in a movie, that happens throughout the course of a plot line and like certain story beats, and like that happens exactly how the director and the creative team of that film want you to experience it in the timing that they want you to experience it. Video games are funny, right? You have a say in pacing and what happens. And sometimes you don't always follow the exact intended path, or in a game that provides you with side quests and things like that. Maybe you really like doing the side quests and you do a bunch of those before you get to the second scene where you're supposed to actually know, additional context or backstory. And then you're like, oh, maybe if this was real, I would have done that a lot sooner because that seems somewhat urgent. I didn't realize the castle was on fire while I was collecting berries for the local merchant.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have done that a little bit sooner.
Good side quests. Hey, the demons are taking over the Citadel. Yeah, but Miss Mabel doesn't have her chickens. They're running around in the field. You got to give them some carrots to lead them back to the house.
She's gonna give me 4 silver if you had just come to the castle. We were gonna give you 8 gold pieces. Now I wouldn't have known.
Help! We're all dying here. Yeah, but the chickens aren't in the coop.
Do you know what the price of eggs are right now? Come on, we gotta get those chickens.
Fellow politics. Yeah. Anyway, so here's the other thing about Dragon Age. I'm getting to a point now where I'm having fun with it, but I paid money for this game, and the first couple hours, days, I would start playing it and then it would lull me to sleep. It was like a lullaby. It was like putting me to sleep. I wake up in the morning like, all right, let's play this game. And then like 20, 30 minutes into it, I'm gonna take a nap now. And it happened more than once, so it wasn't out of the usual. But now it
fall asleep once, shame on me.
Fall asleep
twice.
Blame daylight saving times.
Got to guess that dragon's age.
Anyways, it's fun. It's a good game. I mean, it's an okay game. It's all right.
Playing on Xbox?
Yeah.
Classic.
Are you playing any games that aren't card based?
Ooh, you got me there. As I hold up for the audio listener, my prize enchanted Scar card that I won for getting third place in a local tournament.
Is that a good card, or is it like...
No, it's unplayable. Really. It doesn't get played in anybody's decks. It's not really popular, but it looks cool. And that's pretty much all there is to it. I was trying for a long time to get remote play on my PS5 to work from the hospital, right? This was the trick, right? Because for those of you that don't know, the PlayStation 5 has settings where you can play your console remotely without actually having to be sitting in front of the TV that the console is hooked up to, whether that's from somewhere else in your house or from somewhere else in the world. But there's some tricks to it, right? With the way routers work and things like that. Sometimes you have to set up port forwarding on your router to open up so that you can actually access the IP address and so on and so forth for your router. And I thought, okay, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to figure out how to do it so that I can play my PlayStation from the hospital, so that when Allie's asleep or she's like, not basically when she's asleep and I'm just sitting there on my computer, I can play my PlayStation. It's foolproof. And I don't have to bring my PlayStation to the hospital, anything like that. But I think something is up with the internet at the hospital that is preventing me from being able to access it, because it works not on the hospital internet. If I use my cell phone, if I use other but I don't want to hotspot my cell phone to try and play my PlayStation, because
you have limits.
I have limits. I'm limited. And but there's certain things that I cannot access on hospital Wi-Fi. So PlayStation, that's one thing. Chat GPT. I can't get to on hospital Wi-Fi. And the only thing I can think of is that they don't want the doctors or nurses asking Chat GPT how to give medical advice.
Oh, shit.
So they've blocked it on the system.
No, I mean, that's a fair fear, I think.
I don't know, maybe. But it's really hard when you're trying to do your kids' algebra homework for them because they're undergoing treatment, and you can't access Chat GPT from their school computer. Was I talking about video games? Yeah. Something that will run on my Mac laptop is Stardew Valley. I've been playing Stardew Valley for a little while. Mostly last month, less so this month, because I have been hyper focused on card-based games. This is the month of set championships. Each new series of Lorcana cards that comes out, usually in the last month of the series, local game stores will host set championships where they offer special prizing. So the card that I showed, there's a play mat for first and second place. And my son and I have been playing in multiple tournaments this month. So we've played in 2. We are playing in our 3rd next weekend. It is the one thing that is not the hospital that I attend with any kind of frequency. Yeah, it's my escape. So I play virtually online a bunch to try and prepare for that.
It's your pina colada song. Because pina colada is escape, right? That's the subtitle.
Yeah.
If
you like making love at midnight.
If you like Lorcana card decks and dealing in the rain. No, I don't. No, it gets the cards wet. What I was going to ask about Lorcana.
That's why he put sleeves on them. Right?
you told me a story recently about these tournaments, and in
Yes.
one of these tournaments, your son was cheated out of a win. Can you talk to us about your son being cheated out of a win? It wasn't intentional.
Not that I know of.
We don't assume. We won't assume. But your
We won't
son
assume.
devastated.
So this was
Devastated.
about a week and a half ago. We went and played at a game store that we haven't actually played at before.
Oh, that explains it.
Yeah,
Devastated.
not relevant at all because the person in question that he was playing against was at the tournament that we had played at 1 week prior.
Mm.
And the
Figures.
LORCANA community, while diverse, is not exceptionally large, especially in the Bible Belt. So you see a lot of the same people over and over again. But at this particular store, we saw some out-of-towners and people that had actually traveled for the event. So, yeah, basically these tournaments that we go to, they're usually 20 to 30 people, and that usually involves about 5 rounds of gameplay. So we're looking at about a 5-hour day, and that's not if you make it into the top 8. If you make it into the top 8, you're adding 1 to 3 hours on top of that 5-hour day. So it can get pretty long, right?
Yeah.
But I am not able to like sit there and like chaperone him for the 5 hours because we're both competing in the tournament. So we get randomly assigned opponents. He has to go play at table 4. I go play at table 8. I'm not even like seeing what he's doing, right? So we play our games. We play round 1. I lose both of my games. He wins both of his. He's doing better than me. Great. Second round, I win. He wins.
Great.
He's like in 3rd place. I'm in like 8th place in the second round. So
Great.
like he's doing
better
great.
than me. He's better.
He's
than me.
doing
That's
great.
good.
Great for him. So we get to about round 5. I think that the final round of Swiss, as they call it, where you're basically whoever you play in subsequent rounds, they have the same record as you. So you're playing against people that are doing equally as well relatively within the tournament, so that the best players move up, the people that are not playing as well move down. He's doing really well. He's kind of in like the top 8 players still. And he's playing in a round where if he wins this round, he will get into the top 8, which guarantees him one of the promotional cards and an opportunity to continue to compete for additional prizes and a play mat, which is what you get if you get 1st or 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So in LORCANA, there are cards called locations that are sideways. They're played a little bit differently, and they have different rules associated with them. And there's a common deck right now that uses a location called the Seven Dwarves Mine, where when you move a character to that location, you pay the 2 ink move cost, and then it will deal 1 damage to an opponent. So you don't actually have to, like, the person doesn't have to be vulnerable to attack or anything like that. You can just automatically damage an opponent. If your character is a knight character and you move them there, it does 2 damage. There's very important verbiage on that card though, and that's what got missed both by the player and by my son. It says the first time on your turn, the first time you move a character to this location, deal 1 damage to an opposing player, do 2 if it's a knight character.
The first time.
The first time. So it is my understanding, based on conversations, that what my son's opponent was doing was moving characters back and forth or multiple times to a location within the same turn and continuing to deal damage, which is not allowed based on the verbiage of the card. I don't know if that actually happened. I don't know. All I know is while I was really trying to focus, on my last match of the day and trying to finish out well, there was a bunch of chatter next to my table between my son, another kid that was there that was like, the way that guy was playing that card was wrong. And he's like trying to show how the card works and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how he was playing it. I wasn't there, but he's like, no, he kept like moving multiple people there and dealing more damage and taking out my characters. So then I didn't have like, I couldn't win. So at this point, their game is already over. They've already reported the outcome, and he ultimately didn't make it into the top 8. It still bugs him today, like that happened. And it's one of those situations where, like, we've played in 2 tournaments this tournament season, right? For this set of cards. And the first tournament, unfortunately, in that 5th round, my son and I had very similar records, and we were put up against each other in that last round. So it was basically whoever won the round out of the 2 of us would move into top 8, and the other person would be out. And I beat him. I'm like, I beat him. I'm sorry. I did.
That's the risk you do when you fight dear old dad.
And the thing is, I beat him, and then I like won in my top 8 round, and I feel like I had a shot at making the top 2. I finished 3rd in that tournament, so I felt really good about it. But that was a situation where like he lost graciously. He handled it really well. He was still excited for me. Like it was all kind of good things. This week after was a lot harder because it was like, man, I should have been there. That was my chance. And he's never made top 8 in a tournament yet. So, and I'm like, it's going to happen, dude. Like you play really well. You know your deck really well. You were there. You were on the bubble, and it just didn't go your way this time.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. You're gonna break through at some point. But he's 15. He just turned 15.
Yeah.
So like
exactly.
It's still like he's still learning to deal with a lot.
When I was a kid, we would drive down maybe a mile to Vaughn's to the supermarket. And that seemed like forever. And now it's like, that was so quick. That mile, that's it's over, right? When you get older, everything is much slower, and you get that perspective, that expanse of life. And yeah, like, yes, this event, the last week's event, it happened. It's like, oh, you can't get over it. But it's like, dude, you have so many more tournaments to go. You're already there, beating people 3 times your age.
And it's our first year in this trading card game world, right? We are 1 year into this entire journey, from having never really played trading card games ever to playing consistently since last Christmas.
Yeah.
To even be top 10 in a tournament or something like that is really awesome. And so I think I have the benefit of an extra, 3 decades of life and playing different strategy games that may not be specifically trading card games, but lots of board games, lots of strategy type, video games and things like that, to where thinking through, I play a deck that requires a lot of decisions and like a lot of steps, and people hate playing it for that. They're like, oh no, there's too much thinking. There's too many steps you have to, and I'm like, I love that. That's why I like playing it, is because I can, make a lot of decisions. But yeah. And so he's gonna get there. I'm hopeful that he has a good weekend this weekend. We'll see how it goes, but
yeah,
it's hard because at home he's like, all right, I cooked up a new deck, or I'm trying something else I saw online. I really want you to play test it with me, Dad. I want you to, I want to see how it does. And so we sit down at the kitchen table. We play 2 games, and I beat him 2 out of 2. And he's just like, I just don't know, Dad.
I worked so hard on this deck.
This deck is terrible. And in my head, I don't want to be like, I mean, it's not just the deck. like you've never played it. You don't understand all the cards in it, or it's just a matchup, or maybe I just played my deck really well this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing that's the piece of learning where it's like,
yeah, you lose once or twice, 3 times. That doesn't necessarily mean that the deck is bad. It might be luck. It might be that the hand that you got was not the hand that you needed. Maybe you don't know the strategy or the synergies there yet to make those cards work for you, and that you just have to once you figure that out, then you're like, okay, now it clicks,
Yeah.
But you have
that's
to
one thing I
fail
really
a
love.
lot.
Yeah. Well, and I have an opposite issue where I can play him 20 times at home and win the majority of those games, and then sit down in the first round of a tournament and just get stomped by my opponent who has been playing trading card games for 15 years or just came with a really unique combination of cards that was specifically designed to beat my type of deck or something like that. Like,
but
any number of scenarios can happen.
And there's the other aspect of you and your son. You play those games. You play the game with each other. You guys know each other. You know how, like, if they're aggressive, if they're more defensive. And when you're playing people that are unknown, you're like, I don't know what I don't know yet. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to be aggressive, if their deck's going to be aggressive, or if they're going to play more defensively, or just kind of balanced. And so you that's what you get when you play the same people over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why I simulate a variety of different situations online while I'm sitting in a hospital room.
Well, you're not alone in playing card games, Travis. I also played in a card game this last weekend. That's right. This is Brandon's. I played poker for the first time in 2 decades almost history.
Playing some Texas Hold'em.
Playing some Texas Hold'em. I've been invited to poker nights for so many years, and I'm always like, I'll do them. Yeah, sure. And I never do.
Something in the late 90s where it established Texas Hold'em as the de facto poker game.
Yeah.
Like, I remember in my earliest of youth.
5-card draw.
5-card draw.
Easy.
7-card stud. Like, the varieties of poker were as many as the grains of sand in the ocean. And now it's like
Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em. That's what you play. Play Hold'em.
Yeah.
So did you know when to hold them?
When to
fold them?
Yeah. No, I mean, I've played Texas Hold'em. I used to play
when to buy back in.
Red Dead Redemption. I played some Texas Hold'em. I like poker. When I go to Vegas, I play on one of the machines for like $10. I'm like, I don't want to do this. The machine's cheating.
Do you play video poker?
Yeah. Yeah. In Grand Theft Auto, I play some Texas Hold'em too. Like, I know how to play it. Anyways, so
Star Wars Outlaws, you got to play Sabak.
It's not Texas Hold'em, but so yeah, 2 decades I haven't played Texas Hold'em with a group of people, and so finally, like, the group of coworkers kept inviting me. They're like, I'm in the chat, like, oh, we're gonna do poker night, and I'm like, This last week I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me ask Chelsea if we're doing anything this Friday on a Monday. And she's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. I sign up. Gonna do some poker. And so Friday happens. I'm like, okay, you know what? it's been a while. I know how to play poker. I know the strategies generally. I'm like, you know what? Just for sake of it, I don't want to go in here unprepared. So I began my YouTube journey of tips for amateur poker players to avoid, right? And I got like some like
hey guys, use these 5 skills to do great at your next poker night. And I've created chapters down below, so feel free to skip ahead to any of these tips.
Oh no!
This video brought to you by Legal Bluff.
You've watched the same videos. That's cool.
No, that's just my generic YouTube impression.
Yeah, no, it must be sponsored by Lorcana. So I watched them, and they have good tips, but then they're all basically like you know them already, right? Like bluffing and like people are counting the cards. They know what the odds are. They know when to bet and when not to bet and when to call, all that type of stuff. So
know whether a straight or a flush is worth more.
Yeah, more. There are tips beyond that a little bit.
Okay.
The number one tip on a couple videos I watched was sometimes you're just gonna lose, no matter what, right? Going back to you and your kid, right? Like sometimes you're just gonna lose. You can start off with the best pair. You can pocket aces. You can start off with that, and then the flop will come, and then a couple other things, and you're like, oh, I've got this, right? The pocket aces are still the highest. But then the river shows up, and then they win with like it would be a 15% chance to win that hand normally, and they just beat your pocket aces. It just happens. So not that helped me win on Friday night, but I broke even. So it was I bought in, like did the initial bid get all my money, and then I lost all my money, and then I was like, okay, let me buy back in. I know I'm just like watching the table. I'm like,
I know that much. That was in the third video I watched.
I know what's going on now. The guy right next to me, Carlos, he only bids and raises when he has something. These two don't know what they're doing ever. This guy's Mike. He's desperate. So he's just going to start. He wants to win a hand. So he's going to get desperate, keep going. And so like, all right.
So now you're no longer playing the cards. You're playing the players.
Oh.
You're
just like my shirt.
Your sociology degree.
Just like my shirt. World Series champs. That's what I was going to be at poker, but we ended it early, and we just cashed out with what we had, and I broke even plus $4. So I got my original buy-in, my second buy-in, and then $4 extra. Woo!
Profit.
Hell yeah. Got me some tacos from Jack and the Bee.
Deep fry the whole thing in the shell.
Hell
there
yeah.
You go.
Hell yeah.
Love it. Well, I mean, that's great.
Jackpot.
That's great.
And you know,
Jackpot.
By the way, for the audio listener, we have our jackpot classes from the IMDb movie Jackpot that we got from Paul Feig
Yep.
Himself.
Yep.
And I didn't win a single hand until I put on my jackpot glasses. And guess what? Woo! Big winner. Big money, no whammy.
Big winner. Oh my gosh. All this LA Dodgers crap. Who you got in the Super Bowl?
LA Dodgers. I'm going to go now that the Bills are out, the Eagles.
Go Birds.
Go
All
Birds.
Right. Yeah. Just because I'm an AFC West guy and can't stand to see the Chiefs go 3-peat. So, this was fun.
Yeah,
Brandon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chelsea, for freeing up the space so I could participate. Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in, and thank you, Brandon, for just being so flexible and available for me whenever I need it.
Ooh, you know I'm flexible, honey. All right.
Hopefully, I'll be back more often. But if not, deal with it. Thanks everybody for listening. Until next time, I'm Travis.
I'm Brandon, and original sound for musicians is on.
Okay, bye.
That was good. You did it.